reason why you don't have what you say you want. Because even though you say you want to be a millionaire, down deep you feel like you're not worthy, or you're a loser, or you're a nobody, or you're not valuable. And those core beliefs are the centerpiece of where you really are living in your life. And everything you're doing is basically trying to avoid feeling that belief. Have you been dreaming about something for a long time? Like some kind of vision or aspiration that's been in your heart? Maybe something that you've been really frustrated about because you haven't achieved it. I want you to think about something that you want, something that you've wanted for a while that you haven't been able to get there. And I want you to check in with how that feels. You know, we learn about personal growth, and if you've done any of that work where you've identified your goals and dreams, and maybe you've created affirmations, and you find yourself sharing those affirmations maybe in the mirror in the morning, trying to get yourself to believe that this thing that you want already happened. And yet, over and over again, you experience that it isn't coming to fruition. I want to share with you why that is. And there is a process that can shift that for you and help you open up to achieving the things that for a long time, or maybe for your entire life, have not come to fruition. The whole thing is about realizing that the personal growth industry is teaching you that the only thing that you need to do to achieve your goals and dreams is to simply focus on what you want. But here's the reality. If you want something, that's coming from your conscious mind. But there's something underneath that you probably have heard of, right? It's the subconscious mind. And if I was to ask you which one of those is more in control of your results, what would it be? It would be the subconscious mind, right? But how do we get inside that subconscious mind, right? The problem is that we say we want something. In fact, it might be something really important. You want to make more money. You want to find the person of your dreams, right? You want to have vibrant health. You want something really bad, but subconsciously, you don't want it. You know, if you really wanted it, you would already have achieved it. So here's the thing. We're in conflict with ourselves, and I see this all the time. I speak to coaches and entrepreneurs and people in general, and they have this thing they want, they're not achieving it. And at the end of the day, the problem is that their subconscious mind is actually saying, no, I do not want this thing. Why is that? Why do I have that problem where a part of me doesn't want the very thing that I consciously say I want? Well, it all comes back to the fact that at some point in our life, we actually tried to achieve that thing and we got knocked down. Something happened. Some part of us was actually denied that. And so we actually created a protection mechanism, and we created a belief. There's a belief underneath that whole thing that you might not see. So if I asked you, what is it that you want? You would say, let's say, I want to make $1 million, or I want to create this dream, okay? And then I was to ask you, what is the belief underneath it about why you do not have it? And you might want to think about, even write it down right now. Why don't I have that thing that I want? And when you look at that, you're going to find a certain type of belief. A lot of times people will say, I don't have it because of something outside of me. Like, I don't have enough time, or it's too hard. Or I asked somebody this yesterday and they said, you know, I don't have a big enough following or list size, or, you know, people don't know my name. And all of those answers are actually beliefs that have to do with something external. Something that you're not in control of, right? If I don't have enough time, time is the reason why I don't have it. If I don't have a big enough list, it's just I don't have a big enough list, right? But then you have to ask a different question, which is, what is it about me? What do I believe about myself that is causing me to not have this thing? And as we look at that question of like, I don't have a big enough list, let's say, and we're talking about an email list, right? Or a following. You find that there is actually something about you. And when I asked this to this woman yesterday, she said, the first thing she said is, I don't feel good about putting myself out there to try to attract people. It's like, okay, so you don't feel good about it. So what is it about you? Why don't you feel good about that? And as she dug in deeper, what she realized is that when she puts herself out there, she has a certain type of personality. And when she puts herself out there, people think she's being too salesy or too harsh. She has a certain type of personality like that. And so she gets this feedback that she needs to be something she's not. And so whenever she tries to market her business, she's actually feeling like she has to put on a mask of somebody she's not. Because why? She has a belief that says that who I am as I am is not valuable. I have to be somebody else in order to be valuable in the marketplace. And there's some kind of limiting belief in you that is something you believe about yourself. You know, I was speaking to somebody recently and I was taking them through this same inquiry, the same process. And he was telling me that, he just can't figure out money. He just cannot figure out money. When I asked him what it was about him, after several rounds of this, he finally said, "I'm just stupid at math." That's what he said. That's the way we talk to ourselves. We actually have this part of us that's really mean. And when we start asking these questions about limiting beliefs, we're coming from this logical place of like, I'm not good enough. But sometimes there's a part of us that says, I'm a loser, right? I'm a nobody. And we got that part of us that's speaking to us in that deep, dark way. When you can get to that, when you can actually get to what that voice is and what it's saying and the language that you're using, you can get to the point of actually realizing what is underneath the reason why you don't have what you say you want. Because even though you say you want to be a millionaire, down deep you feel like you're not worthy, or you're a loser, or you're a nobody, or you're not valuable. And those core beliefs are the centerpiece of where you really are living in your life. And everything you're doing is basically trying to avoid feeling that belief. But here's where it gets deeper. Once we identify that belief, we ask another question. And that question is, what is it that you are gaining from doing this? And this is where the whole industry of personal growth gets flipped on its head, because instead of the old model where it's just focus on what you want, you realize that you're actually gaining something from doing the thing that you do that doesn't get you what you want. So in other words, I say that I want to have a big email list, or I want to have a following, and I'm not achieving it and I'm frustrated. And so I get really angry, or I feel like a loser, right? Or maybe I have like some kind of pattern where I stay small. I keep myself from putting myself out there on social media or whatever it may be. And there's a reason why you do it. You're gaining something from that. And there's 4 different things that you may be gaining from that. And in a future video, I'll explain those 4 things to you. But the point is in this video for you to understand that when you say you want something and you don't have it, there's a deeper reason why. And as you start to investigate, what is the belief underneath that? And then you start to look at, what is it that I might be getting from doing that? You start to take back responsibility for the fact that you created this whole pattern. This is when the whole thing blows open and you start to see that you are not a victim to the things happening to you in life. You are the creator of the things happening. You are actually the reason why your life is exactly where it is. And this is the breakthrough that will change the trajectory of your life. I want to share with you a quick story about my journey uncovering this work. You see, when I started my business over a decade ago, I was the kind of person who was always feeling frustrated about my business growth. I couldn't get enough clients. I couldn't make enough money. And I have a great relationship with my dad. My dad has played an amazing role in my life. He's been, the ultimate mentor and role model. And I was the kind of person that when I had a problem, I would go to my dad and I would say, I'm struggling. Like, he would say, how's business? And I would say, it's not good. And I'm not getting enough clients and I can't do this and I can't do that. And he would always, give me some kind of support. And as I started learning this process, what we call the Align method, when I started learning this process and really digging deep and working with clients in it, I started looking at myself from the outside. And as I was looking at myself from the outside, I started asking myself the question, why is it that every time I'm around my dad, I am always complaining about something going wrong in my business? Why is it that that's the paradigm that's in place around my dad? And as I looked at it from the outside, I realized I complain about my business when I'm around my dad because my dad helps me. He's either going to give me some kind of moral support or pat on the back, let me know that I'm doing great, or he's actually going to give me money, financial support. Many times in my past, my dad would actually give me a handout to help me through it. So let me ask you this. Why would I want to actually stop doing the pattern of being broke and struggling in my business if every time I did it, my dad would come around and save me? Why would I want to stop that payoff or that trade-off for that. I wouldn't until I became aware of it. The second that I realized that I was gaining something from it, and what was I gaining? I was gaining connection and love from my dad, and I was gaining security and certainty and support financially. Those were my payoffs. So as long as I was getting those things, it was great to stay in that paradigm until I realized I actually want to grow a successful business. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to have problems trying to get clients. And so when I realized that I was doing this, I made an important decision. And that decision was, I'm going to stop complaining to my dad. When he asks me how business is going, I'm going to tell him it's going good. Even if I'm going through something, I'm going to stand in my power that things are going good. I'm going to stop playing that role. And number two, I started taking my dad out to lunch and actually providing in the relationship in terms of being able to provide for lunches or other things and not be just this person asking for a handout. I actually cut the ties on those payoffs. And it was uncomfortable. It was scary. I really remember where I had cut the cord and I suddenly had to take it on that I no longer had that safety net. It was on me to grow my business. And that's where the self-sufficiency that I needed came from to allow me to grow my business to where it is today, having helped many clients, having generated multiple six figures for years in a row, for helping clients generate millions of dollars. All of this came from the decision to stop getting that payoff and realizing that I was playing this game. What game are you playing in your life? And how can you get out of the personal growth model where you only focus on what's going well, like affirmations and visions? I love those, by the way. They're amazing. I use those. But if we don't look at what's going on in the subconscious mind, if we don't look at actually what it is that you subconsciously are pushing away from, that you consciously say you want, and right that ship, you're not going to achieve the thing you want. And it's an amazing experience to actually get into the heart of what it is that you're actually thinking and saying to yourself on a regular basis that's in conflict with that want. And that's when you break out of the box and you can finally create the results that you want. This is the Align method, and it is the transformation that you've been waiting for, that coaches, speakers, and entrepreneurs who want to go to the next level have been missing. I'm excited to share it with you as I continue to share different things in these videos to help you break through to the next level. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe to the Rock Your Gift podcast, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thanks for making it to the end of my video. YouTube thinks you would like this video over here.